Welcome back to the Wealth Juice podcast. As always, it's your boys Ryan and Corey here with another episode for you. Today we're going to do a 2025 review. We're going to talk about the wins, the losses, the highs, the lows, the ups and downs, and everything in between. I think it's just good to give perspective when you get to the end of a year to see what worked well, what didn't work well, and then how to gear up for the next year. So we're going to kind of give you guys a peek behind the curtain on our story here, and we'll talk about some personal things, some professional things, and kind of tie it all together. But
I was reviewing some of the notes here. It looks like there's a lot of losses. There are some wins. We will get to the wins, but it's just funny. We stacked up the losses first, and I think most of the losses came from dollars spent on things that didn't work. So, we can dive into it. But I guess first our goal, talk about our 2025 goal. We didn't have one for like our mentorship and coaching business really, but we wanted to get 30 units, and we ended up with 25, 30 more like units in the New England area where we're buying. So we'll get into that, but I guess we can go into some of the things that happened first and just paint the picture a little bit.
Yeah, so we did front load this with the losses. I think a lot of times you hear podcasts and they go right talking about the wins, and it looks like these flashy lives that are being lived on Instagram and all that, and they skip over the losses. But the losses are where I think real progress is made, and you learn how to say no more often, say yes to things. And I think 2025 for us, the lesson learned was money spent doesn't equal progress made. Being that we have such busy lives, I know everybody does, but you get into this cycle of the business where you're trying to take some of the money that comes in and reinvest it into other things, into other areas of the business where you don't want to spend a ton of time. You want to hire a professional that potentially can do it better than you. And so what we did was kind of siphoned out some dollars that came into the business in a bunch of different areas. And these were the areas that we're going to cover that just didn't work well. And it kind of made us rethink things like, hey, we're still muscling this thing. Like, we need to do a lot of this stuff ourselves. You can offload things, but maybe you don't have to hire out every single thing. So the first thing I want to talk about is we hired an ads consultant to help us run our meta ads through Instagram. The goal here was to try to get more leads for our business. And Corey and I tried to do this ourselves, and we found that it was like, it was like rocket science.
It's like Chinese, looking at Chinese for me, at least.
Yeah. And we were trying to record ads, make the right hooks, make it relatable, and the creative side of it. But then it was the technical side of going behind the scenes and trying to really learn how to upload these things, how to put the right dollars to it. So at one point, it just became too much for us. So we hired someone. We paid them $3,000 a month to specifically just run the ads. And then on top of that, we had to have an ads budget. So as you can imagine, like, we got close to like $7,500. Even one month, I think it was close to $10,000. And you need to be making well over that number to make it worthwhile to pay someone to run it.
You need to be at like 3 to 4x that. We need to be bringing in 30 to 40K a month on that.
So if you've ever tried getting a mortgage, which I'm sure many of you have, you know how daunting and discouraging it can be of a process. The slow process, paperwork, being told no without any real explanation. One time we were even told that taking out a home equity line of credit on an investment property wasn't even possible. So that all changed when we were introduced to Neo Home Loans. What makes Neo different is literally how they approach lending. They're not just checking the boxes. They're legit problem solvers. They look at your entire financial picture and explore multiple angles, literally until they find a strategy that works. They helped us reposition our portfolio, pull out lines of credits to scale, and structure everything for long-term growth. And on top of that, their rates were some of the most competitive that we've seen. They just literally did whatever it takes to find a solution. For us, Neo has become our liability advisor, the same way you have a financial advisor on the asset side for the liabilities. If you're serious about building wealth through real estate, it's worth sitting down with them and getting your lending strategy dialed in. If you want to book a call with them, click the link in our show notes. Their team is unreal, but don't just take it from us. Find out for yourself.
And just for people that are like maybe new to the podcast, the what we were trying to grow, and we're still trying to grow this, is our mentorship program. And right now there's about 56 members. Someone just joined this week in our community, and we teach people how to buy their first or next rental property. We help you scale based on what we know and the people in our network, and we just plug you into a system that works. And you can go to our website to check it out if you want. But we were trying to bolster that. That was the whole idea, is like, okay, put fuel on the fire and bring in a consultant to help us run ads to reach more cold traffic. That's what that was. And what we realized quickly is that I was having a conversation with someone the other day about this. We're kind of solopreneurs in a way, where we have a bunch of like part-time employees. Like, we're here at the studio. We have a podcast producer. We have somebody who like does edits for us on YouTube. Like we have that, but we're trying to like remove ourselves from certain parts of the business. And this is just a loss that didn't work. And I'm not blaming the company necessarily, although I don't think they did the best job, but like we just weren't equipped to handle this at the time. And, it was a lot of money going out the door, and we just couldn't figure it out. And honestly, that was what happened.
Yeah, I think we got ahead of our skis. We found something that was working, and we decided to put more gasoline on the fire at that time before the revenue was coming in to the point that we had. We had some great months. I think we had a $30K month, which may be one of our better months. But to do it consistently over time was difficult, just given everything from our lives to the economy to, I just think it's very interesting at times of years when people are holding their money tighter than others. And you can tell the economy plays a direct role on this. I'm not blaming it on that by any means, but we were navigating all the seas doing this. And to be able to have to sit down and get creative with this and make sure we were churning in enough dollars to pay this bill every month, it just wasn't worth it for us. It ended up being a loss.
Yeah. And that led to like, okay, well, we realized that we had this mistake to put fuel in a fire that like to us wasn't big enough to put fuel on. So we have to kind of be there with the sticks and keep making the fire until we can hire somebody to like help us get to the next level. So we decided to take it on ourselves. We're not even running that many ads right now. Our Instagram is growing pretty organically. So part of it is like we're just having conversations with people that follow us, the people that get into our ecosystem to see if it's a good fit for us to help them grow their real estate portfolio, i.e. join our community. But in the process of that, we realized that our back end like CRM system, and you guys can relate this to like anything that you're doing. If you're trying to build a real estate portfolio, if you're sending direct mail, if you're doing all this, it's the same thing. Like you need a CRM, you need a funnel. So we hired a consultant, $5,000 to build our back end funnel. And she was great, really nice lady. She was in the Philippines. She did good work, but she like got sick, and then we didn't hear from her, and like it just never got off the ground. So we, I think in this game, in business, you kind of have to not be afraid to just outlay cash. And not all of it's like a hope and a prayer, but I wanted to present this to people that it's like, we don't know, we don't have all the answers, and we were searching for them too. And we were trying to figure out what the best way is to connect our website to our CRM, have email follow-up sequences, text sequences, which was going in line with the webinar. And then it was just like, directly people coming to us. We were trying to figure all this out on our own. And I was like, we're like the least technical people ever. Like I'm looking at the back end of a CRM, and I'm looking at coding, and I'm like, we can't do this.
Yeah. I think
have to learn it.
The operational side of the business is something that you really need to have an ace for that. I think Corey and I are both front facing. We can do it. I mean, I can do the back end if I have to, and I don't. It's just one of those things like you have to force yourself to do it. But so we thought hiring someone would be great. A lot of things were coming together, and then unfortunately, as Corey mentioned, she got sick, and it kind of fell out of whack. And we were like halfway through building a new website with her, and we had to do a big pivot. Once again, we relied on our resource and our network. We had someone that did our website 2 websites ago, and he gave us a great deal. He's friends with one of our good friends up in New England, and my point is we ended up figuring it out, and we got a massive deal on that. I think he only charged us like $750, and so without another $5,000 out, we had some things put into place. So I'm happy with that, but I think the overall point here is, that was another, you have to invest in your business. That was another $5,000 down the tube. We learned a lot through that. And it was just one of those things where it's like, okay, we're going to have to, once again, muscle this ourselves and just jimmy rig it and put it together. And so we have everything kind of figured out, or at least have a track for it. But once again, what we were trying to do, it's very interesting, just from like a top level, it was run ads specifically to our Instagram, get people to follow us and have conversations, and then eventually bring them into the program. The other side that we didn't mention, we kind of glossed over it, was running a webinar funnel. And this was the part of that $3,000 a month to run the ads, and then this $5,000 to have the back end system set up. Was we were told, hey, you'll have a lot of success if you run a weekly webinar where you show up for 60 minutes, you have conversations about what you like, your knowledge, right? You're talking about buying real estate.
Free, right? Do it for free. Like that's the whole thing. It's like a 60 to 90 minute masterclass for free. That's what the webinar
Oh,
is.
yes. Yeah. So basically you have people show up for 60 minutes, you give them free game, and then at the end of it, there's a call to action to join your program or have a call with you. And then potentially, if it's a right fit, you jump into the program. There's so much technical jargon in the back here that has to be tied together for this to work. So it's free to everyone joining, but to us, we spend a ton of money on the ads to get people to show up. And then the sequence on the back end is like reminding them every day. You could send texts, you could send emails, but we found that just everyone in our community of entrepreneurs, they were running webinars, and it just didn't work for us. And not saying that it won't work for us in the future, but the way we were positioning it and running the ads, we were just spending way too much money in ads. And we decided like, hey, listen, we're going to pivot from this and we're going to go back to the basics on what's worked for us. That's our basic follower ad that we had in the beginning, the hand-to-hand comment in the DMs. And now we're back to stabilization. And I know to get to the next level, we're going to have to invest money in certain areas. And we'll get to that kind of towards the end of the episode, like where we've positioned our cash, to go into 2026. But my point is, just because it works for some other business does not mean it's going to work for yours. I think everything works, but just what works for your business, you have to be very strategic and know when to pivot, because you can't just bleed all the money out of your business, because at that point, that's why I feel like 90% of small businesses fail. They just run out of money.
Cash. Yeah, exactly. They do. And the thing is we probably we made so many mistakes of pivoting too quickly. Like when something didn't work for a month, we're like, we have to change it. And that's just kind of like our, I don't want to say ADD, but our like, okay, like we're not afraid to fail. We want to fix something if it's broken, but how do you even know if it's broken? Have you given it enough time? And we've kind of come to this conclusion that we need to give everything that we do 90 days. And things move fast in this world. That might not even be enough time. Like, for example, we're going to talk that we just hired a manager to help us bring us brand deals. That's going to take longer than 90 days, in my opinion. But like, we need to get in this mindset of like, you can't try things for a week. You can't try things for a month, 2 months, give it a time period for it to actually work. But then you have to draw a line in the sand and make a decision. And that is kind of leads us to the next loss, if you will.
Yeah. Another one. It's funny. It's all the technical stuff that we're trying to outsource here. But then once again, another $15 grand on this one was we hired a DM management team. So at one point, we had a friend, I will say, that was managing our DMs or helping us manage our DMs. And it was, not too expensive, but we started getting a lot more followers. And we're like, how do we maximize the touch points with these followers? So we got actually DM'd from someone that had a company, and essentially what they would do is they would put a DM setting team into your business, meaning like have someone hand-to-hand combat for you while you're doing what you do best, right? Going, taking down real estate deals, coaching your community, helping others buy properties. While you're doing that and your Instagram's growing, we will manage the back end and all the new communication that comes in. So from new followers to existing followers to try to drum up some more leads for the business. Overall, we spent about 15 grand. I think it was 5 grand down and then 3 grand a month for active management. And we were finding is we were getting new leads, but it was the same amount of leads we were getting from our personal own hand-to-hand combat. So what was happening was we weren't making any more money in the business than we had been versus when we were just doing this ourselves, because we found that there was a lapse in, as we trained them as best as we possibly could, there's still a lapse in communication. Like what we knew on the topic was a lot more deep than what this person knew at a top level. So when specific situations came up and specific conversations were led down a specific way, they were like, well, this conversation's over. But if they just asked 2 more questions, we could have ended up getting them on a call and really built a relationship. So I know this works for a lot of people. It's just figuring out at what point to hire this in your business. I think we got ahead of our skis in this again, where we were just like, hey, we're making money in the business. We need to reinvest. We need to scale this. We need to do X, Y, and Z. And those 3 things we just mentioned were just swings. And I wouldn't say they were strikeouts because we hit a couple doubles. We had a couple triples.
We just foul tipped it off our foot for sure. That's what happened.
Yeah, we did smoke our toe. But I will say it was worth going through these losses, if you will, because we learned a lot in the process and we learned what's out there. There's a lot of people doing these strategies. And I think a lot of people will show, hey, I'm making 150 grand a year, or 150 grand a month, 300 grand a month in my coaching business or my real estate business. But what's the profit? Like, what are you actually spending?
They're outlaying $100,000 a month in expenses, right?
Your ad budget has to be massive. So for that 100 grand that they're making, they're probably spending 70 in ads. Not all the time, but some of it. Or they have a whole team that they have to pay. So for us, Corey and I, it's he and I. We have a VA overseas that helps us with something. So for us, we were like, this outlay of cash doesn't equal the results that we're getting. And if we can go lean and mean and just have he and I kind of handle this with maybe 1 or 2 other people, we're going to have a bigger spread headed into 2026.
So if you DM us on Instagram now, or you get a DM from us, it's us. It's me, actually, most of the time, talking to, just building relationships with people. I mean, if there's people out there that are looking to get into this game, I feel like we bring a really great product to the space, and we don't need to be paying somebody $5,000 up front, then $3,000 a month. And by the way, we didn't even mention they take 10% of everyone, like of all the dollars that come in too. So it's like that. again, I'm never going to shit on a company. I'm never going to leave bad reviews. Like, we left amicably. It is what it is. Like, it's our decision. I have to own, and we have to own that we decided to do this. I'm not asking for a refund. None of that. This is how business works. But this is for a business that's already probably doing 100, 200, 300K a month and trying to scale it, because you can outlay a few $1,000s a month without really batting an eye. So those, I mean, right there, just off that, we're talking about, the loss of $3,000 a month ads consultants. That was 4 or 5 months. We're talking about almost $50,000, close to it, of just money into the abyss that we could potentially use right now. But I like to share these types of episodes because you hear about us buying another 7 unit or 8 unit or 10 unit. And I am making a post today about all that goes into that and when we start to take profits. And I want you to get a full inside scoop of what's going on in our business, wins, losses, and all the above, because we can't do what we said we were going to do in the beginning of this 6 years ago, start this podcast and be authentic, if we're not telling you that we're losing sometimes too.
Yeah, I think this is just important for people to see behind the curtains. A lot of businesses have similar challenges, and what you think is, I don't know, it's very interesting. I always thought the guys at the peak level of their online businesses and then having real estate or whatever their other thing is on the side, like, you just think it all looks cush all the time, but there's so many different pivots you have to make in, like, allocating money to specific resources. It's just very interesting, and it's not for the faint of heart. I will say this. It's been a struggle, and we've invested a ton of our own money in this business over the years. So I say this to say, for people that are thinking about starting their own business, it's so rewarding, it's so challenging, and it's something that gives you like a purpose and a passion, and it's something I would never regret doing. But I will say, these are the type of things that you need to be aware of that are going to come up, and you're going to have challenges. Now, one of these swings that we took could have been a home run. It could have been the best decision we ever made. Now we're looking for that next thing, right? We're always going to continue to invest, but now it's trying to figure out how to do this strategically. And we'll talk about what we're going to do in 2020, like the end of this year, to set ourselves up for that. But I do actually, maybe we could go there now before talking about the wins, because the wins are pretty easy. But I think just to put a bow on this, based on all of those things that we just discussed, to make the correct decisions moving forward, Corey and I have decided to hire a business coach. And we actually just hired him last week. And he comes from one of our mentors. It's his business coach, someone that we really respect in the game. And he basically was like coaching us through all these different strategies. Like, guys, I think just you need someone to come over the top and kind of audit your business, but audit you guys and your decision making over time, because I see you guys can convince each other of one thing or convince each other of the other thing. And it's just, you're going to go in this perpetual cycle till you have someone that's unbiased coming into the business and helping you run it even more like a business. You're at this next level where you got to make the correct decision now, because this is where people make one decision and it could break the business, or they can make the other decision and it could make your business 10x.
The other thing to keep in mind is, if anybody here has a partner, I think that we get jaded and we get biased on our conversations that we have and what's important in our lives and our personal lives too. And we can just, we can forget what's good for the other person. And having somebody that is unbiased that comes in that's like, no, I actually think you're looking at this the wrong way. We wouldn't be able to tell each other that, or we might not listen in the same way that somebody else coming over the top. So for anybody that has a business partner, I would highly recommend hiring a business coach. And by the way, I'm not going to tell how much this costs, because we're currently working with him, but it's not as expensive as you would think. And he's helped a lot of people that are in like similar spaces to us. Now, he's in his 50s or 60s, and he's seasoned, and he comes from the consulting world. So if anybody actually wants an introduction to our business coach, I didn't get permission to say his name. I'm sure he wouldn't mind, but just shoot us a DM. I'm happy to make a connection. And we're early in the stage, but I think that doing that, removing ourselves from all the decision making and leaning on someone else who's seen it and done it, like overarching for the kind of the pillars and the legs in our business, was I'm optimistic about it. But I also know that is a runway of 6 months to a year to like actually implement the things that he's talking about. And we have to, he doesn't fix the business. He tells you what to do, and then you have to go execute.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, because we talk about, you can't pay your way to success, even though we try to at some points to shorten the time horizon to get there. But for me, this is just a 20,000 foot view approach of doing what we tried to do at the beginning of the year. We tried to hire someone for ads. We tried to hire someone for the DM setting. We tried to have, someone run the back end systems, all of that. We may have been guided in a different direction. And because we were, Corey and I making the decision, trying to like plug a hole. He may have said, guys, do you have the dollars to do that right now? Does it make sense to do that? Should you pivot to this aspect? So to have someone like this, we talk about this all the time in previous episodes. So if you're new, you probably haven't heard this. If you've been here, you might have heard this, but you have a coach for every aspect of your life from growing up. You have teachers, right? Until you basically get through high school, even into college. But then you also, if you played sports, you've had a coach to guide you, show you how to play the game. Now, we've learned how to play the game in real estate, online business, but that's kind of he and I taking bits of information from people we listen to on the podcast. We've hired specific mentorship groups. We've jumped into masterminds, but to have someone looking specifically one-on-one into our business, we have not had that. And I think this is something that we have probably needed to do for a long time, but we never kind of felt ready. We're like, okay, when we have a certain dollar amount, we'll get ready. Or like when we have a certain amount of dollars coming in from these two silos, we'll do it. And I think it came to this point with realization, like we've had a couple swings, couple misses. This is like not the last resort, but like one of the last resorts to say like, hey, how do we correct ship and have someone help steer us in the direction in the future? Now, hey, this business coach, we have not worked with this person before. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But my point is, we've decided to make this our move headed into 2026 to mitigate some of the risks moving forward into our business and make sure we're capturing the correct amount of dollars and then deploying them into the right silos moving forward for the highest profit.
Yeah. And then the next thing, so these are like the 2 year-end moves that we just made. The next thing is hiring a brand manager. And this is interesting because as you get into business, you don't know where your business is going to go. And you don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. And I never set out to this to be content creator / influencers. That wasn't the goal. However, as a byproduct of growing our real estate portfolio and sharing that with you on our podcast and our social media, that has become a thing. And we're going to share a goal, a win of 2025 is like we surpassed 50,000 followers, but it took us 3 years to get to 30,000 followers, then another 2 years to get to 50. And now as recording the show, we're at 67 and it's taken us literally 30 days to go from 50 to 60 and another 30 days to go from 60 to 67, right? So it's like with that comes, okay, now there is an attention, and we always say, Budget Dog told us this, attention is a new currency, so that people are looking at our brand. Okay, we actually can go down the sponsorship route on a deeper level, and it's not something that Ryan and I want to spend a ton of time on, like going and researching and trying to figure it out. So we've hired a brand manager to help bring sponsorships to us. Now that's, brand sponsorships, brand positioning, and we just want to be intentional about who we work with. But now there's 7 to 8 million eyes on our page on a monthly basis. So it's not for us to do anything that is out of the realm of what we would normally preach and talk about, but this is the game that we're in now. And I think that I want to be able to promote products and services that might help our followers. So that's a cool thing, and the model there is like bring in a brand manager and they take a percentage of the revenue that comes in, but they do all the legwork in terms of negotiating for you and bringing them to the forefront. And then we have to be the content creators that we are. And it's working for a number of other people in our sphere. So I'm excited about this because my sister's an influencer. I've talked about her a couple times on the podcast, and she makes a great living. And the challenge is your content becomes your life, and that's something I don't want to really fully dive into. But I do think that it's going to be beneficial for us because we're already posting the content anyway. And I think there's a different element of it to bring in more leads for our business, but also promote products and services that we use. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, me too. I think it's just another avenue. It seems like this is the stuff we're already doing. So if we can monetize this and get aligned with other brands that are out there. So one of our mentors, he's sponsored by Built. And I'm like, dude, we work out all the time. We wear Built, we wear Cuts, like Nike stuff. It's just like, I would love to be positioned with a lifestyle brand like that. But then also there's all the picks and shovels around real estate investing. You have mortgage companies, you have Easy Landlord Forms, which is another
They're a
company.
sponsor of us right now.
Yeah, exactly.
They've been great.
And then you go down to CPAs, you have attorneys. There's just so many different facets and people on your team and companies you could potentially work with in the real estate sphere. And the goal is to get aligned with a company that will also benefit someone else. And so there's a lot there, but this is something that Corey and I, on top of everything else that we were doing, we were outsourcing sponsorship deals and trying to do this by ourselves. And I think we were undercutting ourselves in a big way. And there's a happy balance here, right? You don't want your whole page to just be like brand, like sponsoring this and like ads and all of the stuff. It has to be natural, but there is a way, I think, to capitalize on this. And to Corey's point, we reached this kind of peak here with our Instagram. It's taken us a long time to get here, and I'll get into this now because this is one of the wins that we had this year is specifically eclipsing the 50,000 followers. It took us 6 years to get to where we are now, and we're at 67,000, which he already said. But my point is, the last 3 months, it's been on fire. We've had 7 to 8 million eyes on our page, and that comes down to really narrowing in on what works for us. We found that a lot of the different style of posting over the years, we've kind of pivoted once we see what works for someone else. And we're like, hey, that looks cool. Let's try that. That looks cool. What we did was really dissected our analytics, and we went through and we said, hey, who's engaging on our page? What's the demographic? But from there, what style of posts are they engaging with the most, and what's getting the most shares, the most likes, the most engagement overall, and what is Instagram favoring? It came down to some motivational tweets, posts, and then us telling our story. And I talked about this in another episode, so I'm not going to get to this. But my point is, we doubled down on what works, and we stripped out what didn't work. And so it's allowed us to reach this level. And Corey's like, dude, it's taken us a long time to get even closer. I think we're missing the ball on something. I don't want to wow the thing's hot while we finally have the algorithm, paired with us instead of fighting against us. I think we should take advantage of it. So my point is, this conversation led to us hiring the brand manager. We're super excited about this, and I think this is going to be another big win for us headed into this year, and something we actually are excited to lean into. There's some aspects of the business that you're like, oh man, we got to try this. Like the webinar funnel, I wasn't pumped to run a webinar. I don't think Corey was either. And a free webinar once or twice a week. Now, if we can align with a brand and talk about a brand that means something to us, and we're backed by their messaging, it's just something really cool. So,
shout out to Dad Gang, dude. Hopefully you're listening. We got to I'm not a dad, so maybe you'll have to. You wear it. You already
proudly. I do. I know. It's in every color. So Dad Gang, yeah. If you wanna sponsor, we're here.
Yeah,
we're here for you.
Hey, let me pause the episode real quick. Let me know if this sounds like you. You're making 6 figures, you're climbing the corporate ladder, investing in your 401k and your Roth IRA, and maybe even a brokerage account. But deep down, you're asking yourself, is this really it? Am I just going to do this thing for the next 30 years and hope to retire in my 60s? That was exactly us just a few years back. We were curious and excited about real estate, but overwhelmed and without a roadmap. If you fast forward to today, we've built a portfolio of over 80 cash flowing units and grown our net worth to over $2 million. We made it our mission to help busy professionals like you take that same leap and start building generational wealth for yourself and your family. That's exactly why we created the Wealth Juice Inner Circle, a private real estate investing community designed to help you get your first rental property under your belt in as little as 90 days. Inside, you'll get direct access to us, our full investing network, private off-market deals, and our exact playbook, and a community of investors who are closing deals every single week. That first property changed everything for us. We always talk about it. It was a true foundation for building generational wealth. And honestly, if we had access to something like this when we first started, we'd be 10 times further along by now. So if this sounds just like you, click the link in our show notes and schedule a call with me. Yes, me. I'll be taking the calls. We'll go over your goals, map out a plan, and get you ready to close your first deal. Let's get it.
So we talked about the losses. We talked about some of the pivots and what we were doing, year-end moves. And now we just talked about one of the wins, which is eclipsing 50,000 followers. Let's get into some of our other wins. We had a goal to buy 30 units, add 30 more units to our portfolio in 2025. We got to 25. So it's interesting because we're going to get into, and we'll talk about selling our one of our properties in Jersey too. We'll fit that in here, but that'll be another year-end win. But in 2023, we bought 18 units. That was one project, but we bought 18 units. In 2024, we didn't buy any real estate. So it was hard to get a goal of what we were going to try to do for 2025. And I thought 30 was shooting for the moon since we had never really bought that many in a year before. We're a part of a larger project, but this is much more intensive, what we're doing now. So 30 was just a goal, and we bought a 10 unit in March. We've talked about this. And then at the end of the year, we found a 7 and an 8 unit. So yeah, that's 15. That's how we got to 25. And the unit count doesn't really matter. It's just that we weren't forcing things to happen in 2024. And if they didn't fit our buy box, we just weren't buying them. I don't have a shame to say that we didn't buy anything in 2024. It's just nothing really worked. So that is still a win for me for us to say, we didn't rush on these deals. They fit into our strategy. They fit into our buy box. They fit into our long-term vision. We're bringing in capital partners. We're paying back investors. These deals from 2023 are working. So you have people that are reinvesting, and then we're just all about the quality. And I ran the numbers on our 10 unit the other day, just for some basic math for people that are listening. We have $23,000 worth of net revenue coming in. Sorry, $23,000 of gross revenue from rents, and our mortgage is 10 grand. So out of all the expenses, you take them out and all this, like these properties are cash flowing. They're really working off the bat. And that is exciting because we have people that are trusting us with their hard-earned dollars and they're investing in us and they're starting to see a return. And it's exciting to take somebody and be like, hey, I know you're really working hard at your W-2 job, but there's another way to help you build wealth. And that is a cool win. So that we got to 25. We'll talk about our goals for 2026, but yeah, go ahead.
I just want to piggyback off the unit count. It's just very interesting because when it rains, it pours. Like my thing that I want to say here is stay ready so you don't have to get ready. We continuously analyze real estate deals. We continuously are looking for deals. We're continuously underwriting them. And just because they don't work like at one point doesn't mean they don't work now. And we got to the end of the year. Quite honestly, it was like October. We're like, okay, Q4, like let's just round out the year. We were thinking about potentially hiring a business coach. We were focused on another aspect of the business. And then boom, we're like, this one fits. Boom, this one fits. And we just kind of tied these all together and put them together towards the end of the year. But it's just really interesting because the 10 unit happened in January and then you went another 10 months.
But yeah, if we closed in March. But
went under contract.
Yeah.
I was like, but okay. So we closed in March. But my point is there's a long period of time before the next one came up. And so my point here is just make sure when you're going through all of this stuff, like you could be, I guess it's maybe one of the, like you create your own luck. It's like you continue doing the things the right way all the time and you're focused on maybe a different aspect of your business. And then you get 2-3 things that are a massive win towards the end of the year on the other lane of your business that you weren't even fully expecting. And they happen to pencil out. They happen to work. We ended up getting offers accepted, all the above. So I guess that'll get into the next thing. I'll let you carry forward on that.
Yeah. So let's talk about our rental property that we're selling. This was like a challenge / kind of win that we didn't want to bring it up as a win because it's not closed yet. By the time this property or this podcast episode comes out, if it didn't close, then something went astray. But we're very close. We're recording this at the end of December. We should be closing in a week or so here. But basically, we put a property on the market and for sale, and we fixed it up in 2021. We bought it for $135,000. We're selling it for $350,000, and actually we put it on the market for $339,000, and it got accepted at somebody put in an offer at $350,000. So we were really excited, $10K, $11K over asking. But then we realized we had to put some more work into it to get it to the finish line. So we put an extra $5 to $10K into we're doing it now, right? We're putting that work in. So. But, going through lawyers and trying to, the CO and the township, we're kind of back in the weeds again. But what this is going to do for us is going to free up close to $100,000 each, a little bit less than that, but about $100,000 each for both of us to make decisions with our life. Some of this is getting reinvested into more deals for us, which is great. But some of it is like, we've talked about this before, like I'm paying for my wedding next year. In November, so I needed to set some money aside, and you bought a new primary residence that's quote unquote dream home, so we had to set some money aside. And like, I think that our goal when we bought that property in the beginning, this was like our third or fourth property that we bought together. Our thought is, yeah, man, we're gonna hold on. This is a win, and it was a home run. It was cash flowing $600 or $700 a month, but our thought is like, we can't wait to live our lives. We didn't think we'd own it for only 4 years, but the majority of the forced appreciation was done. We would probably get another 3 to 4% per year going forward on $350, and in 10 years it'd be worth $450, whatever. But we force appreciated it very quickly from that 180, 190 when we were all in to $350. It's like, okay, it's almost like an extended long-term flip for us. So that was the decision, and it's like, don't forget to live your life. So that's why we're selling this, and both of us kind of like are asset rich and not rich. I mean, but we're doing well with our assets.
That's a good quote, though.
Yeah, asset rich, cash poor. Yeah, we are. We're like, okay, we need to like replenish our cash reserves. That's part of the game. When you keep investing in real estate, you run out of your own money, and that I'm not afraid to say that. I think that's just we have put so much of our time, energy, attention, and money into the future. Into this is going to be great for us down the line. This is going to be great for us down the line, and like, we haven't bought the things that we've wanted to buy or spent the money on those things. So I think this is like a small win for us, and it was good timing for the both of us. When you have a partner, it's 50-50. You may be going through something where you're like, dude, I don't want to sell this. And I'm like, well, I kind of need to, but we both agreed that it was a good time. Yeah. I don't think it was, maybe we waited a couple years, and it's like really a buyer's market, but we got lucky. So I think just
Yeah.
get this thing to the finish line. That's our number one focus actually for the end of the year, is just to get this to the finish line.
Yeah, it's not a win yet. You know, we close on the 30th, so hopefully we have an update for you. But I want to talk about this one a little bit. The reason we're bringing this one up specifically is because it's 50-50, just Corey and I. And I think a lot of people listening, you probably have like a partner or two on a deal, or you're taking it down by yourself. And to Corey's point, you know, it is a problem if one of you wants to sell, the others don't. And I've had a bunch of our friends have told us stories, and one of them, like, hey, someone's going to get married. The wife doesn't want, they realizes she can get an influx of cash to pay for not only the wedding or to pay for the kids or whatever it is, right? Like, there's just things in at some point it could lead to a lot of friction. Corey and I both had big life events coming up, so it was perfect timing. I don't think we would have found a better time. And we're like, dudes, we kind of were like, what do you think about this? We had the conversation, and we were both fully willing to keep it if the other one wanted to keep it, but it was perfect timing. We decided to sell it. And I think, you know, something that Corey mentioned before was like, what we're doing is we're repositioning our portfolio. This one was an easy one for us to say, like, hey, we're taking some of the proceeds coming back, deploying it into other investments, other properties, but then also to do life events and to move your life forward. It's a lifestyle play. We've invested so much money of our own into our business, right? So like, not only just investing long-term in real estate, but it's investing into ourselves in the next 5-10 years. And that becomes hard. You're doing less now moment things. Like, we could always easily go buy the new car, do the next thing, upgrade the next lifestyle play. But we've been really focused on this delayed gratification for a while. And I think this was one of it feels like everybody would be like, I think a good majority of people would be like, dude, that's a no-brainer. Like, you guys are overanalyzing. But for us, we're just so focused on like, let's make sure we play by the rules of the upper 1%. They continually delay gratification. So they're set up for future them, right? But for us, this was a happy blend where we could live now and could do something immediate and could, you know, get to the next level of our lives, but then also still hedge a little bit and reinvest some into the business, reinvest some into another project. So it's exciting to say the least, but it is a challenge. Some of this stuff, I mean, we've been driving to this property, you know, on odd hours of the day, and like a lot of the other ones, we have property managers handling everything for us. But this is really like Corey and I hands-on. This is one of the first properties we bought together. It was like a 99-year-old woman that it was an estate sale, and one of our mentors passed it down for us. So we just wanted to handle this one the right way, and it's just this super interesting market. The township is very difficult to get permits and get certifications, and like, we're just like fingers crossed the whole way through this one, because this has been one of the hardest projects we've had in a long time to deal with.
I also think that it's an eye-opening experience for how, I don't want to say illiquid, but in a way, your real estate portfolio is illiquid, right? So in other words, like, if you need cash in the next 30 to 60 days and you decide that you want to sell, like, things have to go your way, right? And especially in like more of a buyer's market. So we're realizing like, yeah, like the net worth looks good on paper. It's all like fine and good, but like, in order to access this cash, you have to go through a lot of different steps, you know, and that's fine. Like, I think that's normal. It's almost like better to not be able to touch it sometimes, because you're like, oh, I'd have to go through a sale to actually get this money. And if you're not great with cash in your pocket and you're going to spend it, then good, put it in the ground so you can't. But we couldn't access this cash in a day, you know? So it's like, you know, you can look at the net worth and be like, cool, that's great. And it is, but we have to access it. We're paying a realtor, which is, we're happy to. It's a good friend of ours. He's in our community. That's why we built this space. So yeah, to me, it was a no-brainer, and we're right at the finish line. So looking to get that wrapped up.
I would just say it's a reminder to keep dry powder in your pocket, if you will, right? Like, this is, for us, it's interesting, you know, back in the day, I would have been, if someone said to me, hey, you're going to sell one of your properties and make close to $100,000 in profit, I would think it would be insane, because that's what we would make in a year, but less taxes. You're not coming home with that check, and you probably spent it on other stuff. So for us, it's like, tax on the $100K as a capital gain is significantly less than it is at your job. You're paying 30 to 35% at your job. We're going to pay 15. We're not doing a 1031 exchange, which is a whole other thing where you could defer it, but we're going to pay 15% or so on that. So it's even better than making that at your job. And it's even better because we're at that next level where we've actually intelligently hired a CPA to help us offload some of these taxes. We have a ton of depreciation and cost segregation studies that are being done on other properties. It's just one of those things where to be able to have this amount of cash come in, it's an amazing feeling, because it takes a long time to get there. But my point is, we already have plans for it. Like, we don't keep it dry for that often. And I say this to people, like, don't drain all your entire bank account just to get into one property or to jump into the stock market. It's like, very intelligently spread this around. This is very much a repositioning for us. Like, don't get me wrong, staring at Bitcoin in the face when it's dropped down to $80,000 and we're waiting on this property to sell.
We only
to
text
sell,
every day about it, so it's fine.
yeah, it's not like we text every single day about
Yeah.
it. But we have another gentleman who offloaded his whole real estate portfolio and he's been buying, and we're in a text thread with him and he's just like, yeah, dude, dropped 500K into it today. I'm like, dude, like it's just next level. But my point is, to be able, it's just had us think a little bit differently, having a lot of different people on the podcast and getting different perspectives. Like we're just trying to follow the velocity of money here and realizing we've pretty much maxed out this property at this point, what we feel in this time, and we can leverage that cash that's coming in to go 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. So that's why we're doing it. And it's not just ahead in business. It's like live your life. I think that's something important to say. Like, don't just hold your money in the ground because we're all just a number, right? You need to be able to live at some point. I think a lot of us getting into small business, getting into real estate, starting up something, you just live tight all the time. And I might not be speaking to everybody there, but you know who you are. If I'm talking to you, it's like, go do something for yourself, take a trip, go do pay for the wedding, go buy a house, go buy the car, do something if you have the excess cash to do it, not to keep up with the Joneses, but if you're like, holding yourself back from doing this purely just to reinvest it into the business over and over, you've never done anything for yourself, just make sure you're celebrating and doing something, because that you need to inch forward your life and live your life. I think that's been a struggle for us over the last couple of years, like really just kind of hoarding our cash.
Well, yeah, not hoarding it in like our bank accounts, but just like, yeah, continuously like planting new seeds with it. And it's kind of a challenge that you have as an entrepreneur because you're always trying to grow and focus on new things. So to be able to take a step back and like realize some of the gains, or go to Miami with your fiance, like the whole thing that, I'm starting to do some of these things a little bit more because I know that, I watch my parents get older and I watch people around me like move, I'm like, damn, I just spent 4 years like with somebody in my backyard in Philly, and then now I don't get to see them. It's like just a reminder of time keeps going. So, don't buy the car just because your friend has the car. Go buy the car if that's the thing that you want to do, or go on the trip. So book the trip, right? The last win here for us is we've built our coaching business was a 5-figure coaching business in 2024, and we built a 6-figure coaching business in Mastermind. And there's a lot of gurus online out there, but I really can like confidently say that I just feel like we're bringing so much value to the market. And you can talk to our clients. Like there are so many wins happening, and watching people get their first property or their first out of state or their first house hack, and they pay to come into our community, so they want an ROI on their dollars. But you and I being like really front facing and like hand holding people and watching them celebrate and watching them create partnerships, and to have a 6-figure number behind that is like, I feel like we're just getting warmed up with it. But I just want people to hear that it's like, I take it to heart. I really take it like the fact that I'm like a consult or a coach to somebody else who's like looking up to us at something that we've done in business and like trusting us and paying us to like be their angel and devil on their shoulder. Like it means more to me than buying the real estate myself. And so that's fun. Like that's turned, the idea of doing that turned into an engine, and the engine is starting to churn. And now our goal is $1 million business, coaching business in 2026. So we basically need to 5 to 8x what we did in 2025. And it has not been easy. That's where a lot of these dollars lost have come from. So how do we do it? I don't know. We're going to figure it out, but it's coming,
Yeah. No. And if it doesn't happen this year, it's going to happen. The stars are aligning in the right ways. And when I say this is like, if you just keep attacking it every single day with strategy and getting the right people in, we're going to have swings. We're going to take misses again, just like we did. But at one point, something's going to unlock it, right? And you just lean all the way into this. Like, dude, it took 6 years, but we finally unlocked the algorithm with Instagram. We're like, it's churning right now. We're going to be at the next level. That's a goal. But by now, if we go on the same trajectory we are right now, by March we'll be at 100,000 followers. That is unfathomable to me. I always thought when we got to 10K, that's amazing. I was like, hey, if we get to 50K, cool, we'll have made it. But to have the triple digits there, it's just going to be an insane thing to say, hey, we really actually built a personal brand. Like that's one of the 100,000 followers. That's just 100,000 lives that you've been able to impact. That's a community. That's big. So for me, I just, a lot of this stuff is, I don't know. It's just proving to yourself that if you show up every single day and you take it serious and you learn and you don't stop and you basically don't take these little speed bumps as like, stop gaps forever, and you just like shrivel up and stop doing things, you can get to any level that you want to. And you touched on this, like, I don't want to just, it's not all about the numbers. Like it's the relationship capital. Like I don't care about the 100,000 followers. I care about all the people we've been able to meet and the lives that have been changed and our lives that have been changed. Think about all the amazing entrepreneurs we've had on the podcast that have shown us the way, have become mentors to us. We wouldn't be able to have conversations even like this having not had so many people just bestow us with wisdom and all this stuff. And that to me means more than most, like to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey man, I'm struggling with this. Like, can you help me out? Or like, what would you do in this situation? I have a guy for that, right? That's the cool part. Like I always want to be able to say like, okay, well, this is bad. How do I get out of this? How do I pivot here? We got a guy for that.
I think that's another benefit to like having our social brand and like the relationship capital, as you mentioned. If you come to us and you're like, do you have a guy here? Do you have an agent in this market? Do you have a lender that can do this? Like the answer is like 99 times out of 100, it's yes. You can come to us and we will plug you with the right person. And that's helped me personally. Like, you know, I'm a newer real estate agent and I found a mentor through our community and he is helping me. And now I'm closing deals and now I'm creating relationships. I'm able to bring more to our coaching business because I can actually help you through the transaction as well. I can help people buy a dream home. And like, I like the agent business. So it's like, it has expanded, it's morphed, it's made us better. And it's also like relying on the people that, you know, have helped us build this. And we've the people that we're buying real estate with, we all met through social media and all met through our podcast. And that's an exciting thing. So briefly, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but talking about the goals, where we're headed for 2026, we mentioned 100K followers. That should be like early in 2026. $1 million a year coaching business. I don't need to have 5,000 members of our community because we can't serve that many people, but I really want to have 200, 250 members that are getting dialed in with their portfolio, allocating cash in the right way. They really like and trust us. They're referring other people to us. And if you're a part of our community already and you're listening to this, just thank you. Thank you for trusting us. This is a cool venture for us in 2025. And like, we're here for you. Like, I just want you to hear that. So that $1 million coaching business, and then we're going to try to buy another 30 units. I thought that was a good goal in 2025. Let's try it again in 2026. And for people that are like newer, we're buying 5 to 30 unit multifamily in like the New England area right now with our partner, Sean. So that is, I think, another attainable goal. And, you know, maybe it's some of them are like not big enough. When I told somebody $1 million coaching business, they're like, why not 5? And I'm like, I don't know. Like I'm trying to do something that is attainable, but that feels like I'm serving the right amount of people for the stage that we're at in our life. So maybe we're not shooting big enough. I don't know. Those are the goals for 2026. And then we have some rules around it too, like things that we want to avoid because of the mistakes that we've made in 2025.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's actually our coach that said, I think we originally were like, yeah, 500 grand is our goal for the coaching business. Like, why not 1.5? And we're like, I don't know.
Like, so we met in the middle, I guess.
Yeah, we met in the middle. Yeah. So it's interesting. But in really having someone to like overlook and kind of pressure test you and ask like layer 2, 3, 4, 5 questions versus us not doing that. Just interesting. So, but rules for 2026, right? Like we're not outsourcing to just leg up and like, I don't know how to really explain this, but basically like we're not outsourcing for clarity. We're going to dial in and listen to our coach, right? Like for us, it's just, hey, we're trying to pay to play and try to pay to get to the next level. We're not doing that anymore. We want to really narrow down where our dollars are going, like no spending money just to avoid learning. I think that a lot of times it was, we just didn't want to spend the time to go learn this ourselves and implement it. And we're paying for speed and we're going to kind of dial it back a little bit. Not chasing shiny objects. We've done that. It's not just shiny investing objects. I think it's the shiny object of, hey, this person is promising us the world if we hire them to run this facet of the business, from the consulting to the ads to the frameworks, all the back end systems, right? That sounded sexy to us because we needed that. It was a need we needed in our business. That was a shiny object that we were like, well, it's working for so-and-so. Let me go try it. And it's like, let's just keep dialing in on what's working and double down on that. So
I can also confidently say there that if somebody like in 2022, if someone were to come to us and say, I got this really cool business idea, like I have this thing that you guys should invest in or this business venture, we would have been like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Like we're just idiots. So now I think we've realized like, there's not many things you could come to us with that we would be like, I would pivot from what we're doing. We buy real estate, we invest in real estate, we buy Bitcoin, we keep our money in high yield savings account for the money that we're going to like potentially need as dry powder. We are building our coaching business, we're building our real estate portfolio. I'm an agent. Like we have these things that are clearly lined, and if we just do them long enough, we're going to become really good. So people came to us in the past and are like, this you should go into this leg of the business. It's like, we already know what the answer is to those people that are coming and asking for new things.
Yeah. I mean, we've done the 360, if you will. I don't want to call it a 180 because like I'm in a full circle. Like we've tried other things and we tried to establish like other arms of the business, and we just realized what works and what we're good at. And it's just these two lanes, right? Like we're going to continue to take down small to mid-sized multifamily properties in New England, specifically where our best team is, where we love the market, where we have a competitive advantage. We're staying there. The other leg is the coaching arm of the business, right? We can confidently say we are very good experts, if you will, at finding, analyzing, and taking down small single family, duplex, quadplex, whatever you want to call it, like the small multis and
getting your journey started, essentially.
To help someone start. Because, and we realized that there weren't people out there when we started that were offering this type of service, and that we would have easily paid for that just to get started. And it's not just to have, you're not getting this magic key that opens the door and every answer is unlocked. It's having a community of other people that are all doing the same thing and all chasing the same thing at the same time. So you're like the tide's rising all ships at the same time. And it's been amazing. And then it's like, hey, if someone can't answer this question, they probably have a connection that can answer this question. And we focus more on the who, not the how, because the how is simple. There's a framework and a roadmap that we've just put on paper, and it's just easy to follow. So my point is, these two lanes are amazing. The only other lane that I will say that we are venturing into that's slightly different, but it's not totally different because we've been doing it ourselves, is the sponsorships. And that's one of the things, like we've been, once again, muscling those together ourselves. But they're the picks and shovels around the real estate business. It's not something like way out. I'm not like selling Pampered Chef, right? Or something like that. I think that was someone's like, hey, you guys interested in wearing some aprons? I'm like, no, like it has nothing to do with our business.
Yeah.
But overall, I think that's just like protecting our energy, protecting, like defending your time, but learning to say no way more often than you say yes. And I think that's one of the biggest things we've learned last couple of years, and from, you know, people that are 10 times better than what we are, more successful in our specific niche, is like, dude, you guys the further you go up, and this is any level of the game, is like, you're going to have people offering you things, and they're going to want a sliver of your business. They're going to want to bring you into their business. They're going to offer you X, Y, Z. And the more times you can say no and protect your energy and protect your lane, you're going to be better off. And so it's interesting. It's hard to do, but that's another big thing for us to put the stake in the ground, moving forward.
2025 was the year of us trying to get aligned, trying to figure out, you know, the lanes, and then 2026 is about letting the right decisions compound and make those, you know, 10x the profits and the relationship capital and the fun. Hopefully, you know, that's like the goal. Is like this. We're not doing this just to make money. We're doing it to create a community and build a business and enjoy time off of the business as well. So that's a little bit of insight into our 2025, how it played out. A lot of losses, fun stuff. 2026, what we have on the horizon, some goals, some wins, some clarity. But we appreciate you tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for another great year. I'm not sure exactly when this episode is going to come out, but we like to reflect, and it's just super helpful to listen back and see the end of the year episodes from the last couple of years, and we're just at different stages in our lives now, and we're not only getting more seasoned as people and like personal lives, but then also on the business side. It's really interesting. So I hope that gives some clarity, and I think you should not be ashamed of your losses and things that, and I hate to call them losses. I think they're just learning moments, because as long as you don't stop, you technically don't lose. So keep going. We're rooting for all you guys, and thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Before we wrap this show up, I want to leave you with this. If you're listening to the show, chances are you're doing pretty well in your career. You're making maybe 6 figures. You're putting money into your retirement accounts, maybe stacking some cash in a brokerage account, but you're still waiting for that next level. And here's the truth. Waiting just costs you time. Every month you're on the sidelines is another month you could have had a property paying you and another step closer to financial freedom that you didn't take. Ryan and I know this because we stayed on the sidelines too long. We talk about this sometimes. We had the money, but not the guidance. And once we finally got our first property, everything shifted. It was the catalyst that built our entire portfolio and ultimately gave us freedom. And that's exactly why we built the Wealth Juice Inner Circle, to cut out wasted time, just give you the exact blueprint and surround you with a network of people who are closing deals every single week. So if you're tired of waiting and you're ready to finally get your first deal, click the link in the show notes and schedule a call with me. Let's map out your strategy and get you moving before another year slips by.